This is something I want everyone to remember. This is like a introduction to Aqidah, like for kids. All of these issues, they're like hundreds of pages of different books written in one opinion and another opinion and this and that. So my hope is that once you're introduced to the issue, that you learn more about all of these things, inshallah. And if you read something later on that's different than what I say and it makes more sense to you, that's fine. But at least you should care enough to like have it, if you don't know what the question is, then how can you even have an opinion about the answer? So we continue. وَالْأَعْمَالُ بِالْخَوَاتِيمِ. All matters are how they end. This is a part of the wisdom of the deen. All matters are how they end. This is part of our Aqidah. This is a part of the Aqidah has nothing to do with saying someone is a kafir or someone is bid'ah or someone is this and that, right? All matters are how they end. But this is not what our Aqidah is. So what's the better masjid event? The one in which 100 people come or the one in which 200 people come? The one in which 200 people come, right? Not really. It depends how it ends. You can bring me 100,000 people, it may be a waste of time. You bring me 10 people like the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will turn the entire world upside down. Why? Because all matters are how they end. This requires having some hikmah, some insight. Okay? Who here works a corporate job? I work a corporate job. Islamic Relief is a corporation. It's a non-profit corporation, right? Here's what. Corporate jobs teach you how to strip your thinking from any sort of hikmah at all. From any sort of long-term thinking at all. Corporate thinking is what? How much money did we make last year? How much money did we make this year? If it went up, shabash. Good man. Even though it may have nothing to do with anything you did. It may all just be market forces. Did your numbers go down? Oh, this is a really bad year. Don't do this again. Otherwise, Sims is going to fire you. What do you mean? It was a really rough year. The economy tanked. We kept the corporation alive. But what is it? It's this corporate mentality doesn't see causes and effects, but only sees certain outcomes, and even then is not concerned with ultimate causes or ultimate outcomes, but only proximate causes and proximate outcomes. Al-umuru bil khawatim. So the person today who has 100,000 followers on Facebook and 100,000 followers on Twitter and gets 1 million hits on YouTube, don't look at what they're doing today. Look at where are they going to end. The person who's president right now, don't look at the fun and games he's doing right now. Look at where is he going to end. Al-umuru bil khawatim. This is a type of common sense completely gone from the Muslims. This is logical thing. People say, oh, religious people are irrational. No. This is what's rational. This is what makes sense. وَالسَّعِيدُ مَنْ سَعِدَ بِقَضَاءِ اللَّهِ وَالشَّقِيُّ مَنْ شَقِيَ بِقَضَاءِ اللَّهِ ta'ala. The happy one is the one who is happy in the decree of Allah, and the wretched one is the one who's wretched in the decree of Allah. Meaning what? If you're happy in the decree of Allah, that means you're going to go to Jannah. You'll be happy forever. Even if every single day of your life is completely difficult in this world, if you go to Jannah, it's not going to matter. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that the person from the people of Jannah that had the harshest life in this world, imagine people, pain, suffering, weird, like people enslaved unlawfully and in zulm, separated from their families, beaten, tortured, in pain for their entire life, killed early, all of these difficulties they had to suffer. Once they're in Jannah, that person will be asked, the one who had the most suffering in this world, they'll be asked by Allah Ta'ala, did you ever go through difficulty? And that person will say, Wallah, I never went through a day of difficulty in my life. And then the people who enjoyed the most in this world, there are a lot of people who are enjoying types of debauchery that's not appropriate to even mention in the masjid, mashallah. There are people who are enjoying a lot more than you and I. We're pathetic and stupid people. We're like, oh, so-and-so's a doctor, he's rich. What, you're going to make $100,000 a year? That's like middle class, bro. You can't even afford rent in like many places in America with that type of money now. What is, oh, $1 million. $1 million is not a lot of money. You can't even build a masjid with $1 million. And we're completely like, we get starry-eyed when we see these numbers. The actual money is like, you can't count it in dollars. There are certain types of wealth, you cannot count them. Sovereign wealth, you cannot count it in dollars. There's some people who enjoy, like I'm platinum with American Airlines. I got upgraded, I'll admit, I talk about how the dunya is horrible, but I got upgraded to first class on the way here, and I got upgraded to first class on the way back, mashallah, for free. So, now the truth came out, I'm a hypocrite, I'm sorry. Sorry to shatter your expectations, right? Because people are like, oh no, this person should not, he should like eat the air and, that's it. He shouldn't even eat and drink food, So yes, I'm sorry, I'm sellout. I was once in the line, right? There's a level above the level I'm at on American Airlines, and I get upgraded if there's any seats left over in first class. There are some people, they buy a normal ticket and it automatically will be put up to first class and actually bump other people out when they buy their tickets, because they fly like ridiculous, like over 100,000 miles in the year, and the company will do some ridiculous amount of revenue with each of those customers, so they take good care of them. So 2 of those guys were in front of me in line for the security line, and they were talking to each other, and they're like, see the flagship entrance over there? He goes, the only people who can go through there are the people who do over $100,000 in prepaid travel with the airline. The guy says, I take 7 first class round trip tickets between Chicago and New York in the year, and I still don't qualify for that. I'm like, damn, because those are really expensive tickets, mashallah. He does like whatever, $70,000 worth of travel in the year, and they still won't let him go in that line. And you know what? Rich people don't even go in that line. Rich people fly in their own private jets. So there's like layers of being rich above us, and then there's layers above that as well that you haven't even imagined. So one of those dudes who's like really on the top, enjoying some like type of wealth that there's no longer any law, there's no longer any enforcement, there's no longer right and wrong, you do whatever you want, like type of wealth. The one who enjoyed the most in this dunya from the people of the hellfire, they'll be brought out and Allah will ask them, did you ever enjoy anything in your life? They say, well, I never enjoyed anything in my life. So why is it that people name their children Sa'id, right? Sa'id is a name, Sa'ida is a name for kids, right? Why is it that Sa'id means what? It means happy. What does that mean? Does it mean that they're doing the happy dance? No, that's what idiots do. It means what? It means that this is a dua, not that the person is happy as in like the happiness of idiots that enjoy for a little bit and then suffer for a long time. The dua in that name is what? That Allah make this person Sa'id forever. Allah make this person happy forever. Why? Because the happy one is not the one who's enjoying right now. There may be somebody who's drunk and he has a smile on his face. That's not happiness, that's stupidity. What is happy? The one who is happy in the qadr of Allah Ta'ala, that's the happy one. This is also a part of our aqidah, and it's a common sense that people have missed out on. That you should see a man may be poor or difficult or going through suffering or whatever, and you say, oh, this person is pathetic, how bad everything is for them, where it's not bad for them. They're going to Jannah. And you may see a person with opulence and wealth, and you say, oh, look how happy this person is, right? Allah Ta'ala describes this in the Quran. Juz amma, right? فَأَمَّا الْإِنسَانُ إِذَا مَا ابْتَلَاهُ رَبُّهُ فَأَكْرَمَهُ وَنَعَّمَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَكْرَمَنِي. Look at the insan that Allah Ta'ala, his Lord tests him and honors him and gives him blessings. And so that person, meaning that person's rich, the person's doing well in the dunya. And so he says, oh, my Lord honored me. And وَأَمَّا إِذَا مَا ابْتَلَاهُ فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانَنِي. And then the other one, when the Lord restricts his provision, meaning they become poor, he says, my Lord has humiliated me. This is a summary of Protestant theology, by the way. Calvinism and other branches of Protestant theology that are ascendant in North America. They believed in something called a Protestant work ethic and the gospel of prosperity, that God the people that God loves, He rewards them with material blessings in this world as a sign of His love. And the people God hates, He punishes them through material difficulty in this world. There was one brother in a masjid I met, he's an electrician, just an old white guy. Someone who you wonder, there are some people are kind of open-minded hippie type people that like to explore things, and then they came to Islam. And then there's dudes that are so normal, you wonder, how did this person ever become Muslim? One thing is, I don't know if there are any converts in this gathering or not. But one thing I noticed over my years is that whenever someone meets a convert, the first thing they're like, oh, how did you become Muslim? And they get annoyed by it. So I don't ask. Because, they've probably been asked 30 times. It probably gets old after the 20th time. So, but then the reverse ends up happening. Is they're waiting, when is this guy going to ask me how I became Muslim? And then I just play it cool. And then after some time passes, they're like, aren't you going to ask how I become Muslim? No. Okay, I'll tell you. So this brother told me, he said, we used to go to church every Sunday. Me and my wife. He goes, my wife got cancer. And I had to take care of her. And then I went to church one Sunday, but without her, because she couldn't make it, but I was able to make it. And he said, the pastor's like, yeah, where's your wife? He goes, she got cancer, she's sick, I've been taking care of her, but she couldn't make it today. He goes, it must have been her sins. By the way, we laugh about it. Trust me, don't think you live amongst these people and this stuff doesn't rub off on us. We have Muslims that say dumb things like this as well. Even though the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he's the one who said, "Inna ashadda an-nasi bala'an al-anbiya'u thumma al-amthalu fal-amthalu." The ones from amongst the people that are the most severe in their tribulations are who? They're the prophets, and then the ones that are most like them, and then the ones that are most like them. So he was like, you know what? I knew my wife. She's a good woman. We would never miss going to church for anything. And this man, how casually he said this, I said, this is batil. This cannot be a true deen. So the idea is what? Don't be like that. Don't judge people. Don't look down on people because of their poverty, suffering, pain, sickness, any of these things. The pain, sickness, and poverty that will take a person to Jannah, this pain, sickness, and poverty is part of happiness. And the wealth that will make a person a ghinan mutghin, right? That the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ described that type of wealth that makes a person, twists them, makes them into a crooked and deviant person. That type of wealth is a curse. There's no happiness in that wealth whatsoever. Every single cent of it is mal'oon. You should look at those people and say, Ya Allah, protect me from ever being like them. This is also part of our Aqidah, and again, it has nothing to do with saying, what group is a kafir and what group is what. It teaches us who we are, not about saying who other people aren't. وَأَصْلُ الْقَدْرِ سِرُّ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى فِي خَلْقِهِ لَمْ يَطَّلِعْ عَلَى ذَلِكَ مَلَكٌ مُقَرَّبٌ وَلَا نَبِيٌّ مُرْسَلٌ. And the root or the essence of the divine predestination is a secret that Allah Ta'ala has hidden from His creation. And no one has seen that secret, neither any angel that is close to Allah, nor any prophet that was sent by Allah. Even the prophets ﷺ don't know why Allah Ta'ala chose what He chose, or what He chose in His qadar. They don't know. And this has to do with why, right? The question why. Someone asked the question, why this, why that, why does Allah Ta'ala, why? The question of why you cannot ask with regards to Allah Ta'ala. Because the assumption that if Allah explained to you why He does what He does, that assumption, it includes within it that you can relate to Allah and you cannot. That's our aqidah, you cannot. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ. How can the one who is caged in time and space understand what motivates the one who is timeless and who is transcends place and who created the heavens and the earth from nothing? How can the table understand the motives of the carpenter? That's not part of what the table is. It doesn't work that way. This is not because me saying, just shut up, it's a holy mystery. No, this is based on understanding. And so the question of why, you cannot ask Allah Ta'ala why. Allah Ta'ala Himself says in His book, something that's going to be mentioned right now. So التعمق والنظر في ذلك ذريعة الخذلان والسلم الحرمان ودرجة الطغيان فالحذر كل الحذر من ذلك نظرا وفكرا ووسوسة فإن الله تعالى طوى علم القدر عن أنامه ونهاهم عن مرامه كما قال تعالى في كتابه لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون فمن سأل لما فعل فقد رد حكم الكتاب ومن رد حكم الكتاب كان من الكافرين. So Tahawi says that to try to delve deep into understanding or analyzing the divine predestination is a means to khidlan. Remember we said yesterday what khidlan is Allah Ta'ala leaving you to your own destruction. This is a means to Allah's khidlan. وَسُلَّمُ الْحِرْمَانِ, and it's a stairway to being deprived of the divine mercy and the divine grace. وَدَرَجَةُ الطُّغْيَانِ, and it is the station of the crooked. So I warn you and I caution you, a complete warning, that you should stay away from that in your analysis and in your thinking, your deep thinking, and in your vain whispers that come into your ear. Because Allah Most High hid the knowledge of His predestination from His creation, and He forbade, on top of that He forbade them, He made it haram for them to desire it. Just like Allah Ta'ala says in His book, لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. He is not to be asked why He does what He does, even though the creation will be asked why. So what did we say? We say it's haram to ask Allah Ta'ala why, and rationally it doesn't make sense, because if you receive the answer, you don't have the capacity to understand it. This is why the ulama say that it's okay to talk about, like Allah Ta'ala did something, it's okay to ponder over what some possible wisdoms in it, some hikmah is. There's a difference between an illah and a hikmah. The illah is the reason why. The hikmah is some benefits from that decision, right? Why did Allah Ta'ala, make, fasting from dawn to sunset instead of the whole 24 hours? Maybe a benefit of it is that, like, if it became too long, people would get sick, they'd become weak, they would die, people wouldn't be able to do it. But that's not why. That's a possible benefit. That's a hikmah and a wisdom in it. That's not why. Why is because Allah said so. The idea that that person would think that they might be able to understand or sympathize with Allah's reasoning and Allah's thinking, this itself violates the first principle in the book, which is that Allah Ta'ala, that there's nothing like unto Him. You're not going to be able to understand that. And this is not based on, like, shut up, it's a holy mystery. This is based on understanding why it makes sense to a person why that's not possible. And so this is a great rule in Islam. لا يسأل عما يفعل. It's a text of the Quran, and it's a qa'idah. It's a foundational principle of Aqidah that, especially when it comes to the qadr, the divine predestination, that Allah Ta'ala is not asked why, even though He has the right to ask why from His creation. This question of why is not a good intermediary between the slave and the creator, the slave and the master. Why? Because you ask him why, you're not able to understand the answer even if you got it. B, you're forbidden from understanding it, so now you've made yourself worthy of punishment. And C, the assumption itself involves a type of kufr, not the kufr that I'll say, like, you're not a Muslim anymore, but a fault in your understanding of Allah Ta'ala, which doesn't accord Him the haqq that He has over His creation. And you don't want Allah Ta'ala to ask you why either. This is another reason you don't want to ask Allah why. It comes in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, it's in Sahih Muslim, if not in other collections as well. It comes in the hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ that on the Day of Judgment, when a person is being asked by Allah Ta'ala about their deeds, right? Sometimes Allah Ta'ala you make tawbah, Allah forgives you for them in this world. They're not going to get brought up ever again. In fact, the way that sin works is that if a person makes tawbah within that day or within that night, Allah Ta'ala tells the angels, don't write the sins until it's time for you to go, right? The angels that write your deeds, they switch shifts at Maghrib and at Fajr, at sunrise, right? And so Allah Ta'ala commands them that the good deeds you can write them right away. The bad deeds wait until the end. Maybe they'll make tawbah. What's the point of writing them anyway? If the shift passes and then you make tawbah, then what will happen is that sin will not only be erased, when you make tawbah, a good deed will be written in its place. So that on the day of judgment, if the sin was crossed out, other people would know that you committed the sin. And so when Allah forgives somebody, His forgiveness is so complete, He doesn't leave any evil effect of it afterward. That a person would be embarrassed that people know that, so and so, like after teaching Tahawi class, he went back to his hotel room and like smoked weed or whatever, right? Like that would be embarrassing, right? So yeah, Allah made tawbah. Why'd you expose me in front of everybody? Allah's not like that. Allah is not like that. I'm staying at an Airbnb, so I just made that up. Don't. Although it is Canada, so you never know. So the sin is not crossed out, nor is it erased. That a person should have so many blank spots on the day of judgment in their book of deeds, so people know, they may not know what you were doing, but they know something was up, right? So Allah Ta'ala writes a good deed in its place. Nobody will ever know. Some deeds a person doesn't make tawbah from, they'll stay in the book of deeds until the day of judgment. Allah Ta'ala may forgive them anyway, and He won't even bring them up. Some deeds Allah will ask you, did you do such and such deed in your hisab? And obviously a person has to tell the truth. But then Allah Ta'ala will not mention it again. He'll let it go. Some deeds, bad deeds, sins a person, Allah will ask, did you do this? And you'll say yes. And then He'll ask the question, why did you do it? The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says that once Allah Ta'ala asked the question, why, this is a sign it's not going to be forgiven, because there's no good answer for this question. There's no justification, there's no good answer for this question. It doesn't matter, anything, anything, if you committed any sin, what are you going to say? Ya Allah, if I didn't commit that sin, I was going to die? No, Allah's haqq is that then go die, it's Allah Ta'ala. If He asks you why, there's no reason. This is a sign that sin will not be forgiven. You will be taken to task for it. You will suffer in the hellfire for that sin. Wal-iyadhu billah, Allah Ta'ala protect us all. So this is another reason we don't ask Allah why. Is the one who doesn't want to be asked why. This is, if it's a hadith or not, I don't know, but it's at least a saying of hikmah from amongst the Arabs. They say, kama tudin tudan. You're gonna, just like you dish it out, that's how one day you're gonna take it. So the one who doesn't want Allah Ta'ala to ask them why, they also shouldn't ask Allah Ta'ala why about everything. Allah's choice for me is better than my choice for myself. This is the way of happiness in the world. This is a way that you live in harmony with the Creator, instead of you trying to be the master with Him. Let Him be the master and you be the slave, because that's what He does best, and you do what you do best. So He says, just like Allah Most High said in His book, He's not to be asked why He does what He does, even though they will be asked. So whoever asks, why did Allah Ta'ala do such and such thing? That person has rejected a commandment of the book of Allah, and whoever rejected a commandment of the book of Allah, that person has become a kafir. That person has disbelieved. فهذا جملة ما يحتاج إليه من هو منور قلبه من أولياء الله تبارك وتعالى وهي درجة الراسخين في العلم لأن العلم علمان علم في الخلق موجود وعلم في الخلق مفقود فإنكار العلم الموجود كفر وادعاء العلم المفقود كفر ولا يصح الإيمان إلا بقبول العلم الموجود وترك طلب العلم المفقود. He said this is a summary of what's needed by a person who wishes that their heart should be enlightened, that they should be from the awliya of Allah, from the righteous friends of Allah Ta'ala. And this is the station of those people who are firmly rooted in knowledge. Remember we said, Allah Ta'ala mentioned said in His book, وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ يَقُولُونَ آمَنَّا بِهِ كُلٌّ مِّنْ عِنْدِ رَبِّنَا, that with regards to the mutashabihat, those people are firmly rooted in knowledge. They say we believe in it, all of it comes from our Lord. Meaning what? We don't understand the details, but whatever it means, we believe in it and all of it comes from our Lord. This He mentions this over here, right? That the ability to recognize that there's certain knowledge that you're not going to be able to know. Not based on shut up, it's a holy mystery, but based on understanding that Allah is Allah. And because He's Allah, there's certain things, decisions He makes, you're never going to understand. That is the station of those people who are rasikhun fil ilm, those people who are firmly founded in knowledge. Because knowledge is of two types. the knowledge which is present amongst the creation and the knowledge which is absent from the creation. So just like disavowing the knowledge which is present in the creation is kufr. If someone asks you how many gods are there and you're like, I don't know, that's kufr. If someone asks you like, how to divide an inheritance between a grandfather and like, 5 half-brothers from the father's side and 1 half-brother from the sister, and like, so you could say, I don't know, that's fine, because you probably don't know. Right? But if someone asks you how many gods are there and you're like, I don't know, that's kufr. You know. And you're obliged to say. The other example, like that, that's an example of something that's knowable. But like if someone asks you, what does it mean, al-arsh istawa? Like what does it mean like in detail? I don't know. Allah Ta'ala, that knowledge is not there. I don't know. I can give you a ta'wil in order to dislodge the wrong answer, but what the right answer is, I don't know. So the person, the person disavowing the knowledge that's there, it's kufr. Just like that, the person claiming that they have the knowledge that's not there, this is also kufr. Claiming you know things that you don't know, this is also kufr. The ghaib, the only way we have any knowledge about the ghaib, about the unseen world, is what Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us. And the only way we know what Allah told us is because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us. People who walk around and make claims about stuff that's in the ghaib, it's in the unseen, this is really problematic. This is why bid'ah is such a bad sin. This is why bid'ah is such a bad sin. Because what are people doing? They're going around and they're making claims about things in the unseen world that are only known through nubuwah, only known through prophethood. So if a person's like, like if you read like a 6th prayer in the day, that was never mentioned by Allah or His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but I'm telling you about it. What are you claiming? You're claiming that the same access that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had, I also have it. This is problematic. Now, admittedly, the issue of bid'ah is somewhat complicated. So someone might say, okay, like read 2 rak'ahs, after your sunnahs from Zuhr. And this will help you with your, this will help you to get financially stable. You say, what do you mean? So I did it and it worked for me. That's not a bid'ah. I did it and it worked for me. And what if another person's like, well, I did it, it didn't work for me? You say, okay, that's it. At that point, it's not a bid'ah. The person's like, no, this is something you do, and do you know so-and-so person doesn't do that, they're such a horrible person? How do you know they're a horrible person? When you actually make it a part of the deen, then it becomes a bid'ah. That's why bid'ah is wrong in the deen is because it has to do with a person making a claim about the unseen, about the knowledge of the unseen that could only be known through nubuwah. And we know that the Prophet ﷺ is the Khatam al-Nabiyyin. So admittedly, there are certain practices that may seem like a bid'ah to people that really aren't. It becomes a bid'ah when you say no, like when you start to treat it like as if this is the immutable truth. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know. Okay, to say I don't know, this is like more than half of knowledge. La adri nisful ilm. This is a statement of Imam Malik rahimahullah tabarak wa ta'ala. To say I don't know is half of knowledge. Even imagine someone saw a dream. And there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, whoever sees me in the dream, that person has seen me because shaitan cannot take my form. So imagine you see a dream in which the Prophet ﷺ tells you to read an extra 2 rak'ahs after the sunnahs of Zuhr. Like, now I can say it. Now it's not a bid'ah. No. The ulama say what? If you see that dream, then what is it? It's mildly recommended for you to do that. You only, the one who saw the dream, not for other people. Seeing things in dreams, seeing things in kashf, seeing things in all of through supernatural methods or whatever, these things can never change the sharia. At maximum, the one who experiences those things, if it's a true experience, and we admit that these experiences happen, the maximum is what? If it's a true experience that person has, then it's limited only to that person. And even then, it doesn't turn something into fard or into haram. It will make something mildly recommended or mildly disliked for that person alone. It doesn't actually change the sharia ever. This is what Tahawi rahimahullah ta'ala is saying, is that with regards to the predestination of a person who claims that they know why this and why not that, and why this, why not that, that knowledge of why, that knowledge Allah Ta'ala has hidden from the creation, and He actually forbade them from even asking about it when He said that He is not to be asked about what He does and they will be asked. So just like if someone were to say, like, how many gods are there? Is Muhammad the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? If they were to say, I don't know, that would be kufr. Just like that, saying I know for those things that Allah Ta'ala says you're not going to be able to know and you're not even allowed to ask about, that's also kufr. So he says that the person's iman will not be correct except for by accepting the knowledge that is present, that's there, and leaving seeking the knowledge that's not there. وَنُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّوْحِ وَالْقَلَمِ وَبِجَمِيعِ مَا فِيهِ قَدْ رُقِمَ. We believe in the preserved tablet and the pen. We talked about it before. The first thing Allah created was the pen and the tablet, and He told it to write everything that is and everything that was and everything that shall ever be. We believe in that exists in the heavens. All the books of Wahi are in it, amongst a plethora of other information. And so why did Allah make the lawh and the qalam? Anyone? Remember, we don't ask why. It's a trick question. But a possible wisdom of it is what? Imagine if all the knowledge of everything that was and everything is and everything that will ever be is literally written out in a place. Then what does that mean about the one who created it? It means that being, its knowledge outstrips all other things. You and I cannot relate to the knowledge of Allah Ta'ala. But when we see something created that's so overwhelming, then we know that the one who created it also has more knowledge than, must necessarily, by rational analogy, a priori analogy, we know that He necessarily must have even more knowledge than everything that's in the creation. And so it helps us to understand what the transcendence of Allah Ta'ala above us is. By the way, a lot of these things, right? Writing, it's not from this world. Language itself is not from this dunya. Chimpanzees anatomically is very similar to a human being. They don't know how to speak though. They don't know how to write. At most you can teach like a chimp sign language, but it cannot teach it to its children. The brain of a dolphin, dolphins can also do sign language. The brain of a dolphin anatomically, it seems to have everything a human being brain has. Actually, it has the capacity for even more than a human brain does by certain objective criteria. But the dolphins don't have spoken language, nor do they read and write things. There are many things that human beings take for granted. They're not from this world. These are the adab of Jannah: speech, writing, wearing clothes. Human beings didn't learn these. They didn't. Like some monkey didn't one day be like, "Oh, I'm gonna take like cotton and weave it into like cloth and like make a kurta out of it." Right? That's not how it works. What is it the humans? Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, he saw the angels doing those things, and so he adopted the customs of the angels like that. This is why people are like, "Oh, look, these are the advanced and developed countries." Right? You guys are old-fashioned, you wear like turbans and burqas and blah, blah, blah and other things, right? We're in advanced countries. We walk around like chimps. Have you ever seen a chimp wearing clothes? The less clothing a person wears, the more advanced they are, right? You're walking around like a freaking monkey, dude. It's very interesting. One of my friends, I don't know, he came to Toronto and gave bayan a couple of years ago. Maulana Junaid Kharsani, I don't know, has anyone ever seen or met him, heard of him before? From South Africa. So he was a good friend of mine. The man is a top-class orator, mashallah, amongst many other virtues that he has. And so one time I was like, "Hey, you need to throw some Afrikaans into your bayan. That's going to make it interesting." I go, "What do you mean?" I go, "Ahmed Didat, rahimahullah ta'ala, in his books, he would sometimes throw in some Afrikaans. It looks cool, he made it look cool, So I go, "You're from South Africa, why don't you throw some Afrikaans up in your bayan, and like make it look cool?" He goes, "Sheikh, I'll do better, I'll throw Zulu into it." I go, "That's even more amazing, man." So he the next bayan he gave, because the two of us, he moved back to South Africa, but while he was here for some time, it just so happened whenever someone would invite somebody to give a talk, invite one of us, they would invite the other one as well. So I would see him basically like 3-4 times in a month, even though he lived in LA and I was in Chicago. So he mentions the story of the first Dutch captain that sailed around the Cape, because the Cape Town was a Dutch colony before the British took it over. So when the first Dutchman sailed around the Cape, he saw the natives standing on the beach, naked. He says, "Look at these naked savages." So Maulana Junaid said that my Maktab teacher said that that Dutch captain, he balked at the naked natives that were standing on the beach and called them savages. He goes, little did he know, within 100 years' time, all of them would be wearing clothes, and it's his own progeny, the Dutch, would be standing on the beach naked. These are the adab of the angels, mashallah, right? The angels they saw the lawh and the qalam when they were created, and they saw writing. And Allah taught them how to read it and how to write it, and He made them write down the hukam of things. And Sayyidina Adam saw from them and learned from them. And Allah Ta'ala taught Sayyidina Adam also. What does it mean? وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا ثُمَّ عَرَضَهُمْ عَلَى الْمَلَائِكَةِ. He taught Adam the names of all things. And then He showed them to the angels and say, now you tell me, what are these things? They say, سُبْحَانَكَ لَا عِلْمَ لَنَا إِلَّا مَا عَلَّمْتَنَا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْعَلِيمُ الْحَكِيمُ. Glory be to you. We have no knowledge except for what you've taught us. Indeed, you are the all-knowing and the all-wise. Right? What does that mean? Anyone here know what a Tyrannosaurus Rex is? Imagine, Tyrannosaurus Rex has lived in this earth for millions of years. And they've been gone for millions of years. And we know that they're Tyrannosaurus Rex, but they didn't themselves know that they're Tyrannosaurus Rex. This is a ajib power Allah Ta'ala gave us. These are from the adab, they don't belong of this world. So when a person leaves those angelic adab, they revert to the animal form. And nowadays this is the propaganda of modernity that people think acting like animals again is somehow like advanced. It's not. You're becoming a freaking monkey. Remember that. If you want to do that, makes you happy, go right ahead, knock yourself out. Grab a banana and knock yourself out. But don't fool yourself and be dumb enough to think that you're being advanced. You're actually reverting to something. You're reverting to animalistic form. Allah Ta'ala made every human being with both at the same time an animal nature and an angelic nature. And you should cultivate both of them, right? Don't be a wimp. Go to the gym, work out, be strong, run the mile in 5 minutes, whatever. Do all that stuff, right? But the angelic side also make it strong as well, and keep the angelic side on top and the animal side on the in its service. If you flip it around, Allah help us all. That's when everything starts to get messed up. فلو اجتمع الخلق كلهم على شيء كتبه الله تعالى فيه أنه كائن ليجعله غير كائن لم يقدروا عليه ولو اجتمعوا كلهم على شيء كتبه الله تعالى فيه أنه غير كائن ليجعلوه كائنا لم يقدروا عليه جف القلم بما هو كائن إلى يوم القيامة. And so Tahawi rahimahullah ta'ala so eloquently states, he says, and this is the mafhum of the hadith of Sayyidina Abdullah bin Abbas radiyallahu anhu, ya ghulamu ihfadillah yahfadka. You can go look it up, it's a very famous hadith. That if all of the khalq, all the creation, the ins and the jinn and all the rest of the creation got together on a matter that Allah Ta'ala wrote in the Lawh Mahfuz that it was going to happen, in order to make it not happen, they would be unable to do so. And if they all gathered together over a thing that was written in the Lawh Mahfuz that it's not going to happen, in order to try to make it happen, they're not going to be able to. So Tahawi says that the pen is dry, meaning it's not going to write anything else. Everything is immutable. The pen is dry with regards to everything that's going to happen until the Day of Judgment. And then Tahawi rahimahullah ta'ala eloquently summarizes this by saying, وَمَا أَخْطَأَ الْعَبْدَ لَمْ يَكُنْ لِيُصِيبَهُ وَمَا أَصَابَهُمْ لَمْ يَقُلْ لِيُخْطِئَهُ. The thing that hit the slave wasn't going to miss him, and the thing that missed the slave wasn't going to hit him. Now, people ask, oh, does that mean that everything's already decided? What's the point of making dua, etc., etc.? There's a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You have to love it. There's a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that nothing will change the qadr of Allah Ta'ala, the divine predestination, except for dua. وَالدُّعَاءُ مِنَ الْقَدَرِ. And the dua also is part of the divine predestination. So imagine someone is like making dua, Ya Allah, change my fate. if my fate is that I'm going to go to the hellfire, change it that it's going to change to Jannah. And so they see a bishara in their dreams that the angels themselves are effacing the hukm of Allah from the Lawh Mahfuz and writing a different hukm, and they're like, oh, alhamdulillah, right? What they don't notice is somewhere else in the Lawh Mahfuz it's written that this dua is going to be made and then this change is going to happen as well. These two realities, they coexist with one another. That you have some choice in your life and you know intuitively how that's true. However, the reality of your existence is there, it's affirmed. We don't say, we're not like the Hindus that say that everything's an illusion, right? If someone says everything's an illusion, you should punch them in the face and take their wallet. And they're like, why'd you do that? It's like, don't worry, it was just an illusion. We don't believe that everything's an illusion. However, you exist and Allah exists. Allah's existence, the existence is a deeper and higher and more noble truth than your existence. Even though both of them are true. It has more sharaf and honor in it, and it has more worth in it than your existence and my existence. That's the meaning of honor. The meaning of honor is worth. Honor is like when the Norman French came over to England, the word honor came from France with them. Whereas before that, in the old English language, the word worth, like says, instead of saying so-and-so is honorable, it says that so-and-so is worthy. Yeah.
وعلى العبد أن يعلم أن الله قد سبق علمه في كل شيء من خلقه فقدر ذلك تقديرا محكما مبرما ليس فيه ناقض ولا معقب ولا مزيل ولا مغير ولا محول ولا ناقص ولا زائد من خلقه في سماواته وأرضه. It's a responsibility of the slave to know that Allah Ta'ala's knowledge preceded all things from His creation. And that Allah Ta'ala fixed all of those things as a fixed measurement that is immutable. Everything Allah decided precisely to the quantum, to the smallest quantum, and it's fixed and it's immutable. And there's nobody in His creation that can negate His command, nor can you appeal to anybody afterward to change His command, nor is there anyone who can withdraw His command, nor is there anyone who can alter his command, nor transfer His command from one person to another, or one locus to another, nor is there anyone who can decrease it or increase it in any way from His creation, neither from the heavens nor from the earth. Nobody. 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 وَذَلِكَ مِنْ عَقْدِ But this is Tahawi speaking. وذلك من عقد الإيمان وأصول المعرفة والاعتراف بتوحيد الله تبارك وتعالى وربوبيته كما قال تعالى في كتاب العزيز خلق كل شيء فقدره تقديرا وقال تعالى وكان أمر الله قدرا مقدورا. And all of these things are from the creed of faith and from the basis. So this is our Aqidah and the basis of ma'rifah, of gnosis. This is also our tasawwuf as well. This is how your heart will have adab with Allah, knowing that everything is His choice. Nothing is anything else. It's His choice. So it's really interesting how the civilization of Islam is like something really even the angels must marvel at. And we're not talking about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're talking about just the people from the ummah, right? So you'll read that in the Kashf al-Mahjub also, right? Instead of eating the biryani of sadaqah, you read the book, right? So you read in the Kashf al-Mahjub, he has like the tabaqat, the biographies of the awliya of Allah Ta'ala. One of the biographies he gives is for the Shaykh Muhammad Khair al-Nasaj. His name is Muhammad, but he would go by Khair. And the story behind it is that when he was going to Hajj from Kufa, he stopped in Basra because it was on the route to Hajj. The caravan stopped there. And nowadays it's like, oh, I got the express Hajj package, because I got to be at work on Monday, right? No, those days they used to go, and that was all that they could think of, and they would prepare for it, and they would go and rely on Allah Ta'ala, and they wouldn't complain about anything on the way there, and they would think, if I die, I die. I'm going to go back to Allah Ta'ala. Imagine that, a person dies in Hajj, right? kuffar, they see, oh look, stampede, people died, pathetic, like brown people, what are they doing? Even though there's black people and white people there too, but that's what they stereotype us, that's fine. I think black and white gets all the credit for no reason. Really, there is no black and white. There's just different shades of brown, really, right? We all just different shades of brown. I don't understand why black and white always gets all the press, all the time, news coverage and everything. But at any rate, so they're like, oh, look at these pathetic, like swarthy people from God knows whatever blank hole countries, and they just stampede each other like a bunch of savages. Look, the Hajj happens, people die in it. You know what the reward of dying in Hajj is? The person who dies in Ihram, Allah Ta'ala will write for them the reward of performing Hajj continuously until the Day of Judgment. And to the point where the person, when they're resurrected, the first thing they'll say when they're resurrected is labbaik. So imagine that. So people in the old days, they're like, this is amazing. If, I heard it's dangerous. If I died, I die, and if I come back, that's great too, So the Shaykh, and this is like one of the awliya of Allah. So he's like, the normal Muslims were like this. This guy's like maxing out, mashallah. He's maxing out. So royal flush of like piety and righteousness. And so he when he was in Basra in the market, somebody came with some cops, some police, and they pointed at him and they said, "This is my slave, my runaway slave. His name is Khair. Arrest him and bring him back to me." And so the cops believed it. And so this Shaykh, he's on his way to what? He's on his way to Hajj, right? So they arrested him and give him over to this guy in chains. And so the Shaykh's like, I intended to go to Hajj to the house of Allah Ta'ala, and it's haram to complain about, you're not supposed to complain and raise a ruckus on your way to Hajj, right? لا رفث ولا فسوق ولا جدال في الحج. Nowadays it's like, मेरे साथ बड़ा fraud हुआ है, 4-star hotel के पैसे दिए और ये क्या बकवास है? Big fraud. I give us so much money. 5-star Hajj. This is not. This. And they get all upset, and then a big fraud. Big fraud. These people, only fraud. If you made it to the Makkah Mukarram, the Haram Sharif is right there. Even if someone did fraud you, why do you care? A person spends $10,000 on a Hajj package, you're in front of the house of Allah Ta'ala, the tajalliyat and the rahmah, you can literally bathe in them. This is such a Mubarak place just to sit and look at the Kaaba as an act of worship. Who cares about your $10,000? $10,000 is not even a lot of money. That's how pathetic we've been. It's not even a lot of money, and people freak out about like, bada fraud hua mere saath because there's no shrimp in the buffet or whatever, right? Who cares? So that's not how they were back in the day, right? So back in the day, so he was like, you're not supposed to cause a ruckus on the way to Hajj anyway. And we went, trusting in Allah Ta'ala, so let's just see where this goes. So instead of putting up a fuss, he just basically, this guy's enslaved me, so he just does khidmah for his fake master. 4 years he stays in the service of this man. After 4 years, the man breaks down and cries and weeps and apologizes. He says, look, I cheated you, and you're obviously a very pious person. You're not a normal person. And that makes me feel even worse for what I did. So please forgive me and just go. So he forgave him and he left, and then he continued on his way to Makkah Mukarramah. That's not the amazing part as far as I'm concerned. The amazing part is what? Is that for the rest of his life, this is one of those kids don't try it at home. If someone tries to enslave you, by all means, punch them and run away, right? But people are in their different ahwal. Allah Ta'ala has created different people for different things, So these are not regular people. These are the awliya of Allah. So this guy says, this guy, whenever he will introduce himself afterward, he'll introduce himself as Khair. He says, my name is Khair. And so his friends would be like, why you call yourself that? The guy cheated you and enslaved you and gave you this fake name. Why do you call yourself Khair when you introduce yourself to other people? He says, because the name Allah gave to me is more beloved to me than the name my mother gave. Which, from a purely Aqidah point of view, the name your mother gave, Allah gave it to you as well. But the point is that what? That this was the way they used to think. Allah's choice for me is better than my choice for myself. And so, these choices Allah Ta'ala made in His qadr, when He says that this is the aqdul iman, there's an aqidah portion of it, and then there's a tasawwuf portion of it as well. That the mind needs to know this knowledge with regards to the qadr, and the heart needs to know it as well in order for it to be free from sickness and illness, and in order to know Allah Ta'ala properly. والاعتراف بالتوحيد, you have to know these things in order to properly even accept Islam. And accept the oneness of Allah Most High and His Lordship. And it is as Allah Ta'ala said in His mighty book, He created all things and He meted out for them discrete quanta. And Allah Most High said, and the commandment of Allah Ta'ala is a fixed commandment. فويل لمن صار لله في القدر خصيما وأحضر للنظر قلبا سقيما لقد التمس بوهمه في محض الغيب سرا كتيما وعاد بما قال فيه أفاك نثيما. So a curse on the one who tries to be a disputant with Allah Ta'ala with regards to His decree, and will sally forth for his analysis a sick heart. That person has tried to reach out and touch in the unseen that thing which is nothing but a hidden secret, and they will return from this attempt as a sinner and as a liar and as a sinner. I think it's a good time to take a break. It's 12:06.